I'd like to invite Reverend Sue to speak to us about self-love.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. You know, sometimes the treatments are so beautiful, and we had the pleasure this morning, a few of us joining together in a session of visioning. Sometimes I just don't want to leave that spot and just say, everybody just close your eyes for the next half hour and just be. And yet there is that idea of coming here to recognize a deeper understanding. What was so interesting about the visioning this morning was so many people shared that one question, that one idea of what must I let go of, what must I release? And always it's that self-doubt, that self-critic, that idea of ourself that we hold ourselves in a less than place. And so I know that the topic of self-love is so rich and so important, and we're so hungry to know the avenue of that place. And I don't know how that meditation worked for you, whether it was easy or whether as soon as I said, love yourself, you went, and then the voices started, or if you were able to hold that space. Could you hold that space? Or did you get all tensed up? I'm going to refer back to the reading in a few moments because I think that has some powerful messages for us to really drink in and hold true to. But first I'm going to tell you a joke, and I'm terrible at telling jokes. But this gentleman came in, patient this week, and he told me this, and I've just been chuckling about it ever since. And every time I see anybody, the little catchphrase keeps coming to my mind. So here's the joke. Now, what's interesting about this fellow that told me the joke, he is about 6'5". He was, and I'm tall anyway, but that was really tall to me. And I was going to do one of those tests on him to see why he has fainting spells. So he was a little bit wobbly, and I said to him, you are a little unsteady right now, as I was looking up and thinking, how am I going to get him all the way up to the third floor? And he says, I don't have any feet. And this isn't the joke part, but he said, I don't have any feet. And you know me and my issues with my feet. And I said, you don't have any feet? No feet? And you're walking? And so it was amazing to me. He had these prostheses. He had lost his feet in Alaska from gangrene, but he walked, and he barely had a stagger. And so I followed him like you would a saint, going, he doesn't have any feet. And then he gets up there and he just looks at me. He's kind of a serious, quiet guy. And then he tells me this joke just out of the blue. So the patient was telling his doctor that he keeps having these dreams, these recurring dreams. And he wakes up, and in one dream, he's a teepee. And then he goes back to sleep, and then he wakes up, and the next dream, he's a wigwam. Is that a tent? Okay, he's a wigwam. And so he goes, what do you make of that, doctor? And he goes, just relax, you're too tense. I know. So that's going to stay with you. It did me. All of a sudden I got insecure up here, as I do, as the self-doubt comes into me. I'm thinking, what is a wigwam? Isn't that something you put on your head? But, so you get the joke, but I realized so often we are just too tense, just not allowing this idea of spirit and this idea of absolute love to flow through us. One of my favorite stories in the Science of Mind text is when Ernest Holmes says, put your hands over your heart. You have to do this with me. Just put your hands over your heart, because this is where you can truly connect. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful me. Say that. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful me. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful me. Say it. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful me. Now feel that vibration of your own heart. And it makes you smile when you think, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful me. And why wouldn't you be? If you are God's design, it's our teaching. If you are one with this truth, then wonderful, wonderful, wonderful me. And so when we have those voices of self-doubt, they are just simply a call to recognize that you are living the human experience. Somebody posted on Facebook this week, and I thought it was just brilliant, that we pass people all the time that we just say hello to them, and yet they have a story going on inside of them that we have no clue. And sometimes they could brush us off and we could be left with a wound and a thinking of less than them. Well, how dare they not really pay attention to wonderful, wonderful, wonderful me? Or we could relate that idea that they too have that idea, that knowing, that absolute truth, that wonderful, wonderful idea of God's presence dwells within them as them. As I was going through many books, and I came up with to bring to the book sale, and I've told you about my books before, I found 2 pamphlets. And even those I didn't bring. But one I found, and I thought, well, I've never really looked at this, and it was a book of a saintly woman, and it's just picture after picture of her and a few sayings. And I thought, oh, I can take this because, and then I thought, I can't take this. I got drunk looking at her eyes and the little messages that she had to say. And one thing that really jumped out at me was, everyone has the right to be right from what they see. Everybody has that right to feel like they are right. You know how sometimes we get in that personal conflict trying to make other people see our point of view? Everyone has the right to their own personal way of being, and it frees us. Oh, what freedom. We don't have to change them. We don't have to fix them. We don't have to bring them to our political belief or anything. See, it stretches all around the world. Everybody has that right, that freedom. And within each one is that wonderful, wonderful, wonderful one. So the reading today, we should not despise apparent failures. We should not be that self-critic that beats ourselves up when we have done something that is less than. These are temporary chagrins of life. They are salutary. And that means, salutary means having a good or a helpful result, especially after something unpleasant has happened. So they're important. They're important moments. And this is the rest of that definition of salutary. They're producing a beneficial effect. They are promoting health. So when we look at those small stings in our life, or major ones, that cause us to be uncomfortable in our skin, we want to recognize they are salutary. They are leading the soul. They are leading you to your inner Christ. It is the way, the truth, the life. And when that experience is complete, when it is done, the lesson will be learned, and we shall enter the paradise of contentment. So we must allow ourselves to recognize it is done. An event is done. And let us drink in the deep lesson, the way to the Christ, the way to the love, to the truth, to that which promotes that life again. And it goes on to say, we do not look at the things which are seen. We do not look at our events in our life as being eternal, behind the visible and the changeable, because all these things that we experience in life truly are evolving. If you're in a place that is tender in your heart right now, my heart of compassion holds you in that space. I do not dismiss that, because I know, though, that you're on a journey and that it is changing. What is changeless is this place of love, this place of the divine. It is the changeless reality. And when we can anchor in that, as the mystics all point to that, we become one in that. We see each other in that common ground. We see the eternal one working in time and space for the expression of itself. You see, you can recognize you have been an instrument of the one, and they have been working you as a tool to be a greater expression of the gifts of the one. So these divine ideas dwell within each one of our consciousness. They're back of all human thought, Ernest Holmes reminds us of this. And we're just allowing them the opportunity to be expressed through the doorway of our mind. So, if it is a longing for this self-love, then be love. Be love. If you couldn't feel it in those moments when you have that dark passage of your soul through an experience, move in closer to that which you do love. Go to the places that feed your soul. Go to the river. Go to the mountain. Go sit with your favorite friend. Go sit and listen deeply and reverently to the music that feeds your soul, and allow yourself to be blanketed with that love. Because God is all of that, and God is that love longing to be expressed by you. So, why the joke? Because watch the moment that we get just too tense, we just get too uptight to allow this grace to flow through us. This is a message of self-love. What Ernest Holmes speaks to, what every philosophy speaks to, is this idea that this greater truth must be felt. I can't say words up here that just go through you and say, well, I can't remember quite what she said. I'm wanting you to feel the truth. Stephen Levine states it very simply, that feeling sorry for yourself makes the whole world shrink to your pain. And it's a very tight fit. The spiritual journey here is to find out who you are beneath all the fear. You see, this is this is the ego, the personality, that which we have created a framework around ourselves. It's okay, it's beautiful to have the ego and the personality to be unique. But beneath that is this truth, is this divine quality. And the spiritual journey is to find out who you are beneath all the fear and the confusion, all of your held beliefs, all of your judgments. Who are you? If you strip those away, little by little, stripping them away, who are you? Some of the master meditation teachers ask you to sit in meditation and ponder that question alone. Who am I? An answer will bubble and rise up through you. Who am I? Another answer will bubble through you. And if you get caught in the idea of feeling diminished or compacted or small inside yourself, less than, who am I? Because remember, you are more than those ideas that cause you to shrink into life. So we are here in this lifetime to heal our mind and to unite it with the heart, to find that deep, abiding peace that dwells within. We're here to make friends with our own self, to feel the connection with who you truly are. Deep, deep inside your inner being is this humanness that all life experiences. All life is longing for this love. So as we begin the journey, as we begin the work, we are accepting ourselves just as we are. And we're learning to have an intimate relationship with each and every part. This is the awareness. This is awareness. And we allow this awareness to travel through the body. We're not just who we are, the parts that we can tolerate. We're all of it. We're all of the way the monkey mind will call our attention to another idea of who we are. So we allow ourselves into the whole being of our life experience. And so sometimes the idea of self-love, people feeling, well, if I act like I love myself too much, I'm going to be conceited. Now, how many mothers told you that when you were growing up? You know? Yeah. I remember there was an experience, and I can remember, to put the words of today on it, I think I was going around going, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful me. And I think I had my brownie outfit on or something, and my mom declaring to me, stop that, don't be conceited. And you just go shrink into where you were just thrilled to be a brownie and to be in this outfit. Then suddenly, don't be conceited. Don't be conceited. And so from that point, that was such an impression. From that point on, anybody that believed in themselves, I'd think, aren't they conceited? Aren't they full of themselves? And so I've often struggled with that. I thought, if I really, really believe in myself, I'm going to be so stuck up, so arrogant. And then I realized what's being called for is something deeper. It's not about glorifying the outer look or the impression of who we think we are. It's glorifying that deep inner joy of who we are. There is no conceit there. So loving ourselves is an idea of just allowing ourselves to be not so self-centered, but embracing all that there is and loving it all, loving it all. If we leave ourselves out of the mirror of what we're experiencing, then we start entering into some conceit. Because then we think we got the handle on that, and we become arrogant and exclusive instead of inclusive in our heart space. So this idea, oftentimes the word that kept going around through therapy groups was, they're narcissistic. And I think, what does that mean exactly? Because I remember that myth about staring into the pond of water and just falling in love with yourself. And yet we're asked to love ourselves. And so I'd always scratch my head on that. And this is, the narcissistic point of view is loving your reflection, but not loving that true deep self. You're becoming more concerned with yourself than for the others around you. So you can recognize that when you've shoved yourself into a place of being very selfish and self-centered. When you're in that place of just boasting, because all that happens is I, mine. That's that Nemo movie, mine, when all the seagulls are going for the gift. But that's grabbing at God's good, grabbing at it, mine, and hoarding and holding it close to your heart. Your heart closes in those moments. But when we speak from that place of absolute self-love, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful me, we're not speaking to that individual I. It's so inclusive to all that is, and we can feel that embrace. So how can we be loved if we don't love ourselves or care about ourselves? That's the question that kind of chews at us. How can we heal the wounds if we ignore that they are there? Deepak Chopra, he speaks very boldly of this in Cher's class that she brought to us, What Are You Hungry For? He points to the fact that we have become unconscious of how unloving we are to ourselves. Think about that. I'm going to repeat that. We have become unconscious of how unloving we are to ourselves. The invitation is to see yourself without any denial and allow yourself to become totally conscious and not unconscious and numb to all aspects of who you are. This is the quote, "The joy of awareness dawns when you escape the prison of conditioning. Awareness is all about restoring your freedom to choose what you want instead of what your past has imposed upon you. The power of self-love awakens in you when you escape the conversations in your head. Okay, she said that. That's not easy, is it? Because our head goes around wherever we go. And we could be trying to do a mantra to clear the way. But if there's a voice chewing pieces of you apart, it's a call to the attention. Remember the reading. It's temporary, but it's calling your attention. And Deepak Chopra saying this, you cannot control what you're not aware of. So your awareness is being invoked here. What is more true than the idea of less than is that greater beingness inside of you. You can heal it. You can heal those voices. And you can allow yourself not to listen to those conversations, but to continually replace them with a greater idea. Now, this is where I was speaking last week in the class about this, and I keep thinking about this in all aspects of life. I think it's so profound. He entertains the idea that the brain is the mind's magnificent gift. Turns your intentions into reality, and this is the science of mind philosophy. It makes dreams come true and delivers creativity. This higher brain is mined for its resources of intelligence and evolution. Be conscious. Be conscious of your self-talk. So we've got this wonderful brain connected to the one intelligence that is greater than anything the small mind might have imprinted by grooves of just discontent and allowing ourselves not to pay attention, but to allow the words to stay stuck. And we have this possibility, this opportunity, this consciousness, this greater ability to turn that negative thinking around. And you can ask yourself, all brilliant teachers that are in all of the top books, Byron Katie, you ask yourself when you hear those voices, is that true? And you could say, well, yeah, look what I just did. I did that again. I'm so stupid. And you could say, but is it absolutely true? And there you're held in the one consciousness of truth. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful me. No, it's not true that I'm stupid, because I'm wonderful, wonderful, wonderful me. Be open, be awake, be alert, be interested in what's going on in your mind, and get settled with these voices. Stay open and get flexible in your thinking. Regroove what's been going on. This is how it's powerfully stated as well. Notice that you aren't simply taking negativity and changing it to positivity. So it's not just a band-aid of, let me just place an affirmation across that thought. That can work for a while, but at a certain point, you lose your motivation. Negativity is triggered every time you look in the mirror or watch other people do the things that you can't do. This action step is about giving your brain a reason to change. The higher brain is in charge of rational choices and behavior. The higher brain is in charge of rational choices and behavior. If you keep feeding it with the new thoughts that contain rational solutions, these new thoughts will start to become imprinted as my way of doing things. It's all part of changing your perception, so the reality, meaning your personal reality, because all things are as they are. So your personal journey is to be attentive. This will change. All things will change and evolve towards that higher thought, towards that higher imprint. To me, I find peace in that knowing. I find that this instrument of the brain and all the little folds, it's lovely to have those wrinkles in the brain. Suddenly, the whole idea of a wrinkle takes on a new dimension. So we're looking for this love, and so start to love yourself with every breath. Start to feel it, accept it, pay attention to what's going on inside of you. Allow that inner light of truth to awaken to you a truer idea of who you are. Who am I? You ask that question, you bask deep in that question. And the voices, by habit, by reactiveness, will try to get their way in. But you've learned not to be reactive, you've learned to be responsive. And so there's the key word there. I choose in this day to be responsive. I choose to not hold on to my pain, but to believe in self-love. To let go of the false image I've created about me that has put me in a box and allowed me no space to grow. I'm choosing now a new idea of who I am. I am changing. There was a story I wanted to share with you, and then I will close. This particular story has an important message for you. I was 24 years old, and I had been involved with this woman for about 3 months when I decided to end that relationship. She decided otherwise. For 4 long years, she hounded me, waking me up in the night by beeping her horn, endlessly harassing me on the phone, driving me off the road. She would appear at parties and dump a bucket of ice over me or stub a cigarette out on my arm. There was no way I could stop her. Eventually, I got ill with a thrombosis. As a result, I realized I needed to change my life and start looking after myself. I got involved in meditation, improved my diet, and began to heal. I discovered a friendship with myself, a deep acceptance of who I am. Suddenly, the woman was gone. After years of fighting, she stopped. I was no longer the person she'd been relating to, the person she'd been harassing. I had changed, and the fight was over. So join with me in a knowing for your story, for your truth, for this everlasting love, these arms of the one, to hold you now. Feel yourself as you close your eyes. And if you so choose, placing the hands once more over the heart and feeling the beat of your own heart, the truth, where the truth resides, that steady heartbeat reminding you of every beat and the possibility in the space between every beat. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful me. Aligned with the one love, the one truth. That which I choose now to be the voice inside my head that calls me to love, that calls me to higher ground, to higher truth, to see my world with eyes of love, to see myself, to hold myself in the arms of love. This is the way, this is the truth, as we all become one, joined in the union of the one heart. So I give thanks for the privilege to have the human experience and to feel my life as I move through each and every experience, evolving to a higher, greater idea of God made manifest by means of me. I give thanks, I release this, knowing absolute certainty that it is so. Thank you, God, and so it is. It's just me. Thank you. I was sharing with somebody the other day the excitement of inviting a new minister into our family, it's as if Mary and I are really comfortable pieces of furniture that have been around a while and you don't want to get rid of us. But you want something new to kind of spice up the place, right, Mary? So we're looking forward to it. We're not going anywhere. You'll see us everywhere. So I appreciate the idea of this talk, and this idea of self-love, I think, is truly the threshold of our spiritual journey. It is to discover that idea of absolute self-love. The music today is so beautiful and so supportive of the idea, the concept, and music has a way, doesn't it, of just invoking that presence and opening your heart so that your mind that is busy with criticizing and judging can just quiet down, and the heart just kind of opens and feels that love invoked. There's a beautiful, beautiful poem by Donahue about the unknown self. So I speak to this unknown self because it seems that the self that we're so companioned with is the one that is the critic, the judge, that which dwells within us that sparks up the conversation inside our head, right? The doubt, the fear, the inadequacy, the unworthiness that we sometimes react to in our life. So hear this, and I'm going to continue to relate back to the reading as well that Bruce spoke to you. So much of what delights and troubles you, think of this, so much of what delights and troubles you happens on a surface you take for ground. It happens on the surface, but you take it for the ground. Your mind thinks your life alone. Your eyes consider air your nearest neighbor. Yet it seems that a little below your heart, there houses in you an unknown self who prefers the patterns of the dark and is not persuaded by the eye's affection or caught by the flash of a thought. You see, it is that which lies deep within you, this self, this divine self, this seed self that we speak to. And in this philosophy, this idea, I am one with all the love that is. I am one with that. And sometimes we neglect to really feel at that level. So here we're looking at this part of the self below, deep inside of our being. It is a self that enjoys contemplative patience with all your unfolding expression. All that you act and react to in life, there it lies in you, deeply patient, deeply awake, and attentive to your heart. It is never drawn to break into light, though you entangle yourself in unworthiness and misjudge what you do and who you are. It presides within like an evening freedom that will often see you enchanted by twilight. Without ever recognizing the falling night, it resembles the under earth of your visible life. All you do and say and think is fostered deep in its opaque and prevenient clay. It dwells in a strange yet rhythmic ease that is not ruffled by disappointment. It presides in a deeper current of time, free from the force of cause and sequence, and otherwise shapes your life. It dwells within you as you forever shaping your life. Were it to break forth in today, its dark light might quench your mind, for it knows how your primeval heart sisters every cell of your life to all your known and mind would avoid. Thus it knows to dwell in you gently. Be gentle with yourself. It knows you, offering you only discreet glimpses of how you construct your life. At times it will lead you strangely, magnetized by some resonance that ambushes your vigilance. It works most resolutely at night, as the poet who draws your dreams, creating for you many secret doors, decorated with pictures of your hunger. It has a dignity of the angelic that knows you to your roots. This self knows you to your roots, always awaiting for your deeper befriending to take you beyond the threshold of want, where all your diverse strainings can come to wholesome ease. This is that unknown self that the spiritual journey takes us by the hand and leads us to a deeper understanding. And so acknowledging that is the first step. What is that? What is that which we speak to? What is that which we are invited in to sit with in meditation, to be very still, to be still and to know who is that and what is that dwells in me as me. And you must take the time to acknowledge and to see who you are. So the question in every meditation as you sit for your practice, whatever form that be, whether it be a walk in the beautiful mountains or at the coastline, it's always to precede you, who am I? And to discover the answer. Because so oftentimes we close the door to knowing our true being, to knowing this true self. We've kept it closed through the lumps and bumps of our journey in life. Every emotional turmoil will cause us to shrink back into the smallness of who we thought we were. In those dark nights of our soul, we sometimes forget who we are. But this opportunity to bask in the opportunity of self-love will lead you to the illumination of love. If you bring yourself to the altar of your heart, to that place where the busyness of the mind cannot distract you. So this idea is to not judge. We hear that all the time, not judge our fellow man, because by doing so we are judging ourselves. Don't discriminate or turn away from any of the pieces of yourself that we don't like to see. Ask yourself, how does this fit with the whole of my being? How does this fit? And the reading that was invited for you to listen to, we should not despise the apparent failures, the temporary chagrins of life. They are salutary. They are leading the soul. They are leading you to your inner Christ, to the way, to the life, to the truth, to love itself. And just the confidence of your faith lies in the belief that when this experience is over, when it is complete, when it is done, the lesson has been learned. It is done, and so it is. And we shall enter the paradise of contentment. So this idea of how do I find this self-love? This passage of Ernest Holmes, we do not look at the things as if they are eternal. Behind the visible, behind all the effects in our experience, behind all the characters that are in our drama of life, there is a changeless reality we call love, the eternal one, working in time and space, longing to express itself into our world. These divine ideas are back of all our thoughts. They are behind the chatter of your mind. So what is invited here in this day is to acknowledge what is going on in your mind. Not to follow the ideas if they are tearing you down, if they are making you feel unworthy, but at least listen long enough so that you can hear what your own mind is saying, that you don't numb out or turn away or walk away or say, that didn't happen in me, and just go on living an unemotional life that allows you to stay underneath this beautiful opportunity to express absolute love. We accept what is going on inside of us, not as, okay, I'm just going to have to live with this, but you feel it without judgment. You move with it and you see, how does this fit in my greater understanding of the world? So that I don't experience guilt and shame, but I bring love. I bring love to the pain that I feel, knowing that the love that I witness and experience will heal all things. This idea of love is greater than the pain, than the smallness. It can heal. It can heal as you allow any guilt and fear to be carried by love, carried away as once you shed the light on a greater understanding. There's a book called First Steps by William Bloom, and he states this very powerfully: nothing about ourselves should be unacceptable. Every dark, unpleasant, cunning, ugly, and pathological aspect of ourself is acceptable to us. If we cannot accept it, then we will never be able to transform it. Do you see? How can you transform that which you deny? So you bring it to the light and you transform it. If there are aspects of ourselves that we cannot accept and therefore cannot transform, then our whole process of spiritual exploration and transformation is flawed from the very beginning. Those are powerful words to help uproot the ideas that we have hold ourselves less than. So what does it take? It takes great mercy. It takes the compassion of your heart. It takes you to a place of stillness and a willingness to sit and explore your inner being, to explore the relationship you have with yourself. What is cold and empty and isolated and ignored, you want to sit with that and bring in the feelings of love, the light, the warmth. You want to be at peace. You want to be in a deep place of relaxation with yourself. You want to be quiet. You want to be aware. So in that space, when you authentically sit in the heart of your own being, it is not a space for criticizing and judging. You will recognize the normal chatter of your mind in those moments of feeling insecure. You will invoke perhaps that idea of comparing yourself, and you recognize when you're doing that, you're only seeing things from your own point of view. From your own point of view. You need to create that spaciousness to allow the love to see it through you as you. So I use two words here. So often our mind is grooved and set and patterned by our judgments and our beliefs, some that unknowingly we just took on through a lifetime. Something that was said to us as a small child, we anchor to, and it wasn't the truth. And so the opportunity is to start to look at all the ways that we react when our buttons are pushed, and we just feel like there that is again, whether it's in ourselves or we externalize it and we point the finger out into our world. It's all inviting us to take a breath and recognize, there that is. How does this fit into the greater idea of myself? How can I learn now not to react, but to respond, to take responsibility for my thoughts, to be sensitive, to be aware, to care enough, to have the ability to respond to my mind? We listen to the feelings. We listen to the feelings of self-love, to invoke that idea, to move closer, to merge closer to the altar of our heart, and to allow this to unfold. Rilke, there's a poet that says this one line: "What now seems to you opaque, you will make transparent with your blazing heart." What seemed opaque, what seemed as a delusion, as a veil, as confusion, as separate than, you will explore that with the heart and the compassion of love. And you will stop listening to what you've been told as a child. And you will drink in the words, the truth, the wisdom of every mystic that points to us and says, you are the love, you are the life, you are the joy. You are the embodiment of God, of this Christ, of this one. There was an idea expressed in a journal that I was looking at for sacred writing, to hold yourself as a small child in your own arms, to hold that idea of the wounded one, to lift that child up and to look into the eyes, to create that vision so pristinely that you're looking into your own eyes, your own suffering, and you're holding that close, looking deeply into the eyes of the innocence of the moment you took on that belief. You would never whisper or conjure up those kinds of thoughts to a child. So why do we do it to our own self? Why do we do that? The journey is a journey of love. So when you allow yourself to question, who am I? And you allow yourself to keep peeling away the layers until you discover and answer the questions authentically and truly, who are you? You think of yourself with the same love that you would give to any of your beloved friends or family or child. And you would start to unravel the patterns. And Deepak Chopra, I mentioned this at the earlier service, but in What Are You Hungry For, in his book, he talks about this great mind, this brain that we have that is higher than that level of pattern thinking, longing, hungry for the intelligence to infuse itself into us and be expressed out through us, this higher calling to be the change, to be the one that is invoking that deep, powerful sense of love, and this love, this self-love, that it would permeate your every action, your every word, until suddenly you looked around you and you were in love with everyone. You cannot love everyone until you love yourself wholly and completely. All of the pieces of who you are. You must embrace them all and bring them to the altar. So, can you love yourself just the way you are? Can you be heart-centered and love yourself? Be significant, to feel your significance, to allow yourself to be that for yourself and for all beings on this planet? As we love, it is done unto us. So what is your concept of you? What have you been doing to you? Now, sometimes we think of just the personality part of ourselves, and that is very limiting, because it is not the truth. It's just another form that we put on ourselves to entertain the world. But there is a deeper, deeper truth, and you want to see what is opposing that truth. You want to see this sense of an expanded self, the inner healer, allowing that inner healer and that inner spirit to expand your knowing into the true self. When you expand into the true self, you're holding a connection and an intention to absolute love. So you might think, well, I'm kind of there, a little bit there, kind of not there. She's talking to me. This self-worth is what I'm pointing to. Your self-worth, it's relative to self-love. It can be up or down. It's always evolving. It can be up one day and down the next. You could think, oh, I thought I was better than that. And then all of a sudden, you got a button pushed, and there you're down that track again. Do the idea of responding to that with a greater idea of yourself immediately. Listen to the storyline that you're starting to go down and expand yourself. Quiet that self-critic and expand yourself to connect to that idea of yourself with compassion, and know that you are being the healer in that moment. The Quakers say, the way is always open. It's always open. The door is never shut. The door of your heart is always open. So are you viewing your world from a lens of our small self, where you feel inadequate and without any lasting love? Or can you allow yourself to drop into the center of your heart and to choose to experience this life and love from that deep place of true self that every master has taken us and pointed to and held us and instructed us and prayed for us to know that this truth is ours. So there's no worries to wonder if I'm doing it right. All it's calling for is a place of trust, yesterday with Dr. Kim Kaiser was here speaking about mysticism from the point of the Buddhist path. But he quoted Emma Curtis Hopkins in this idea of naming your good. Naming your good is naming your God, and you can feel this sense of, what do I claim as my good? And it invoked a powerful conversation as we realized what we name as our good. But allow yourself to see what you put before your good. Recognize that every good is a call for love. When my partner was Charlie, and we had to share this idea of our good, and I was recognizing as I spoke what my good is, I recognized all my complaining and whining and bickering and criticizing. I know. So there it is. And I realized I work it until I find that place of love again. Unfortunately, he's usually my sounding board. But as a spiritual companion that he is, he doesn't hold me in those places. And he lifts me up. So if I cannot see the higher truth, he lifts me to higher ground until I stand solid again. The way is always open. So we're asking ourselves to trust in this process. Something we find and don't acquire easily in this idea of self-love, but you must allow yourself to cultivate this passion for yourself. Allow it to be awakened, and let it be known to you that it is a selfless act of love. And when you allow yourself to dwell in that place, you begin to recognize this selfless act of being. And you start to allow yourself that in the moment of a misstep or a wrong action, you can take the time to call for forgiveness and to repent in that very moment. You do not have to let it dwell within you and beat you up. You can turn to it and allow it to be your call to serve others. And this true self, this true love, is not about our personality. Remember that. Allowing ourselves to just feel off in a day. It's an idea deeper than that is completing this circle of love. This love that we seek, this self-love, comes from this true self. The self that in every class that we teach, we are trying to lead each and every one of us, the instructor, the student, all of us, trying to lift the veils of delusion and confusion, of that self-critic, and to allow ourselves to recognize the me inside of all the voices. And how do you recognize that true voice in all your loving exchanges? When you love with your true self, you'll recognize it because it's a felt sense, and there is no separation. You respond because you're responding to that deep, still voice within that is calling you deeper. This path is the journey of the mystic. You are allowing yourself to awaken to this greater idea of yourself that we call love. We rest in who we are and what is happening. Kabir says this, do you believe there is some place that will make the soul less thirsty? In that great absence, you will find nothing. Be strong then and enter into your own body. There you have a solid place for your feet. Think about it carefully. Don't go off somewhere else. Kabir says this, just throw away all the thoughts of imaginary things. Stand firm in that which you are. So the meditations that you practice will float your fears to the surface. They are a call for conversation. The classes that we offer will shift your perspective into this illumined place, this divine center. So right now, I've offered that invitation for you to hold the wounded child and to nurture and to purify that being inside of you, to purify that space with love. So you no longer, from when you leave these doors today, allow any of the pain in this world to define you. You are witnessing the mystery of love. I'm going to invite the choir forward as my closing prayer, and I want to share two things with you as I close. Gangaji says, the love you search for everywhere is already present within you. It may be evoked by any number of events or people. A mountain can evoke this love. A sunset can evoke this love. But finally, you must realize you are this love. The source of all love is within you. Now, caught in the mystical teachings of Ernest Holmes, in his rapture, in his moment of declaring his truth as he was offering a moment of, it was at the Whittier Church, a church dedication, and he was speaking his words. And one of the class assignments that we just finished, this is from the Essential Homes, was each student was invited to create a process, an offering of how the class touched them. And George Rogers is going to present to you his class project. And he is invited. This is how this grows. The words poured through him, and he sang to our hearts in our class. And then he joins the choir, and the choir joins in this grace, this moment. And I know I'm getting the time card, but I need to share a little bit of background with this because it's very important as you hear Ernest Holmes speak. He's talking about what he's always talking about, this unity, this oneness with the divine. But in the middle of his words, his voice changed. And this is what he's saying, and this is what love does. When you allow that self-love to be birthed inside of you, you join the love of all things. We have co-joined our consciousness with the eternal guarantee of the universe, that the everlasting and eternal Father of all life and the Mother of all creation, forever begetting the only begotten, is begetting him in us right now. And that the word of our mouth is the word of truth in such a degree as it emulates and embodies the truth, which sanctifies the word to its unique service of healing, not only the sick, but the poor in heart. We are dedicated to the concept that the pure in heart shall see God here, that the meek shall inherit the earth now, and that one with truth is a majority, that every one of us is in the secret place of Most High, in the center of his own consciousness, has the secret with the eternal, the everlasting, the almighty, the ineffable. God and I are one, and I see uniting in one great inner praise, one great union of effort, one crescendo of song, one enveloping sight of consciousness. And here, his voice changed so much, he went into this place of rapture. I see it, O God. The veil is thin between. We do mingle with the hosts of heaven. I see it, and I shall speak no more.